Okay, so it is recording. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, the topic, the focus of these coffee chats is just to have an informal chat to explore various careers in accounting. Okay, so from the last chat we had a couple of weeks ago, we explored an example of a junior accountant in an industry role. Okay, so I believe we looked at VESI. And you guys had some very interesting questions. So, again, if you have questions, please do share and we can talk about it. I thought today may be interesting to either look at a intermediate or senior accountant in an industry role as well, or if you guys want to explore an example of a junior or senior accountant role in public practice, you guys can let me know in the chat if you have any particular preference. But while you think about that, I actually want to spend a little bit of time talking about the CPA program. Some of you have already heard about it, I'm sure, but I do want to spend maybe a couple minutes talking about the CPA designation. So just a reminder of our goal here is to create this safe space. So again, there's no bad question, and this is just a safe space to learn about different careers in accounting. Ask whatever questions you may have on your mind before you start talking to external representation, be it in an industry or public practice setting, and seek any clarification if you think there's anything confusing out there that you're not quite sure how to make sense of it. Again, this is the perfect forum to type in the chat. We can chat more about it then. Okay, so we're just going to exchange some ideas and thoughts. Okay, so let's go ahead. Again, just a warning, this is being recorded, so we're going to be respectful and professional. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with just the CPA program. So as you may or may not know, every year CPA BC works with the firms, be it the big four national firms or small firms, to come up with a framework. Okay, and each year does look different. So they actually just updated us very recently that only seven firms have agreed on a framework for this season. So for the 2023 recruitment season, which typically recruits 1 year out. So they're recruiting for their 2024 teams. Okay, so only seven. So that's interesting. Every year it's a little bit different. And so if these firms have agreed on a framework, it means they've agreed on specific dates where they will abide by these rules. And so they're going to recruit heavily, they're going to offer interviews, they're going to offer positions. And as a recruitee, you have up to a certain date to accept. Okay, so nobody can retract their offer from you. So that's, very fair. That's great that these seven firms have agreed on this for this even playing field. So that the firms don't retract their offers. With that said, as a student, if you're a successful student, please, ensure you don't accept something from a firm, accept an offer from a firm, and then retract later on. Okay, so maybe we'll talk about that another time. If everything's successful, you have a number of offers, and you have up to a certain date to accept and choose the one firm you wish to work for. Okay, so we have seven firms that have agreed by the framework, meaning the other firms, they may have their own dates. So as a student, this is where you need to be very, very careful, maybe jot down, all the different timelines and dates, because there's really only seven firms that have agreed on this framework, meaning there's a number of other firms who have their own timelines. Okay, so there definitely will be more updates on this. We've just heard about it just a couple of days ago. Okay, so with regards to CPA BC, if you're aware, they help, govern a lot of these, recruitment season. They also have a lot of workshop and events. They assist, aspiring CPAs working towards their designation, right? So for the BC area. Okay, so these are slides that they have permitted me to share. So here we have an example of, different CPAs, right? If you are interested in the CPA designation, that's what you're working towards next. And so this snapshot here is just showing you again that CPAs work in different careers, right? So obviously at the very top, you can see public accounting, so public practice. But we also have a large number of CPAs actually working in industry. So either they've gone directly in industry, right? They had nothing to do with public practice. They spent their whole career in industry, or they worked in public practice, gain a lot of experience, and then went into industry in a more senior role. Okay, so those are typical paths we see. Okay, so public practice, CPAs also, do some consulting work. We have Brad here as well, and myself, we definitely do some consulting work. So we, enjoy providing value to clients through various consulting engagements that we may do. Corporate government, academia, nonprofit. So here again, just a snapshot that as a CPA, you have all these different paths available to you. Okay, so that's again the main theme of these coffee chats is that your career in accounting may look very different to your neighbor or your peers. Okay, so CPA BC assist with the recruitment side of things, but they are also heavily involved in the education side of things. Okay, so this is actually administered. CPA Canada has various schools. So here we have CPA Western School of Business that has their own curriculum. And so what's important to take away from this is that you have the experience route. So you're going to gain experience, be it in public practice or industry for those required 30 months. But there's also, additional education that you're going to pursue. So you're going to pursue the PEP program if you are going to go through the CPA Institute. There's also the University of Saskatchewan, if any of you have heard of that. A number of us instructors have actually gone through the MPAC program. So this is not the PEP program, but they do meet for core 2, for capstone 2, I believe. Okay, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe capstone 2 is where the two paths will meet to complete and then work towards the CFE, the common final examination. Okay, so there is additional education involved. And so if you are interested in the PEP program, so I'll speak to that, you will then pursue Core 1, Core 2. So this is required for all students or for all aspiring CPAs to complete. And then you can choose your electives. So for example, if you're keen on public practice, you'll likely choose an elective in assurance and tax. Okay, but there are other electives to pursue, right? Management, accounting, finance, for example. So this is where you can choose where you want to pursue your specialization. And then, of course, capstone 1 and capstone 2 is where everyone will meet again in preparation for that CFE. Okay, the CFE, if you're not aware, is a 3-day long exam, probably the most difficult exam of my life. Back then it was called the UFE. And so definitely a challenge. But if you are successful, then you are one step closer towards your CPA designation. Okay. So back to the experience side of things. So if you're not already aware, with the CPA program, you can actually pursue your designation, pursue your hours either through the PPR route, so the pre-approved program route, or the EVR route. If I'm able to do a poll, I can figure this out. Let me try poll. Okay, I'm going to do a poll. So yes, you've heard of PPR, you're familiar, comfortable with the differences. Okay, so PPR versus EVR. Okay, so let me go ahead and try this. Okay, so I think I've launched a poll. So yes, you are comfortable with the difference between PPR and EVR, or no, this is actually the first time you've heard of PPR versus EVR. Oh, wow. Okay, so about half. So half are yes, half are no. Okay, more towards no now. Okay, wow. So I will speak very quickly on that. So as you're recruiting, or as you're going through recruitment, I should say, this is definitely something you want to look out for. Is the company or is the firm PPR versus EVR? The nice thing actually is that you are not limited to, say, public practice to obtain the necessary hours. You actually can find a company or firm or nonprofit, for example, that you're very passionate about and you believe through your experiences, your unique experiences, you can get the required experience to achieve the CPA designation. Okay, so that's something very great about the CPA. We didn't have this, with the previous 3 different designations, there wasn't this flexibility. Now, pre-approved means that the company or the firm has worked with the institute and has created a curriculum that has been approved, meaning you get into the company, you get into the firm, you complete whatever necessary work is done, and your application towards your CPA designation is pre-approved. Okay, so you essentially do the work and it will work towards that designation. Whereas the EVR, there isn't that pre-approved arrangement. Okay, so it's more unique. So you're going to complete whatever work these particular companies require, and then you're going to complete what we call a PERT report. It's document that explains to CPA or their team what you've been doing. Okay, so you need to complete this every at least once a year, but it may be more often if you think you're getting lots of interesting experience. So you're completing these documents to then send to the institute. They will then review and assign whatever competencies you have achieved over those 30 months. And sometimes it may take longer because it depends on your unique experience. But the main thing here is, as you are searching for your jobs, do not limit yourself to purely PPR. Okay, great, it's pre-approved, so it's a lot more convenient. But if you're very passionate about a particular industry, please do look into it, and you can, assess what kind of progression they will provide and whether that will meet the EVR route, okay? So hopefully that gives a bit of background. If you want to learn more about it, Rebecca from CPA BC can definitely speak more to that. Okay, I'll share her contact information at the end of this. Okay, so again here, just a snapshot of various job titles that may have popped up as you've been job searching. We spoke a little bit about the junior accountant role, which is not on this list, okay, but a junior accountant role last week. And so here, if you guys want to let me know what you're interested in exploring today, be it intermediate accountant, senior accountant, we can take a look at some samples, probably using LinkedIn again. All right, so do I have anything else here? Okay, I spoke already about the upcoming recruit season for 2023. So they are releasing the details on that soon. Otherwise, if you have questions, I can share this link with you here. This is actually office hours, I suppose, with Rebecca. So you need to book with Rebecca. She is our rep here at KPU, and you can speak with her directly on any specific questions you may have. Otherwise, they have their contact information, right? You can reach out to them and again, get more clarification as needed with regards to the CPA program, be it the CPA recruitment or the academic side of things. Okay, so I don't have anyone in the chat sharing their preference. So last call. Okay, otherwise, I don't know. I think, you know what? I'm just going to pull this up. I was searching earlier. So again, I'm going to use LinkedIn, and I've already filtered for the location, and I just typed in senior accountant, and this is what popped up. So any preference in terms of industry or public practice role? I actually see quite an array of samples. Right. So for example, this D&H group is a public practice firm. So this would be a senior accountant role in public practice. I don't think a lot of the firms actually post on LinkedIn. Okay, we have another one here, Crown McKay, public practice firm. So they probably have their own portals, which many of you are probably familiar with. Okay, I'm going to check the chat. I don't see any particular preference. So you know what? I'm going to go back to the industry one. We spoke about Vessi last week. So just on that same theme, comparing an industry and again, a local small startup, right? Vessi, Herschel, these are both retail companies that have been launched here in Vancouver. So I'd like to explore this one here, and then maybe next time we'll start diving into public practice roles. I think at that point, more firms actually will be releasing their job postings. So let's take a look at this one. Okay, so if we don't mind. So if you're not aware, you may purchase from this company, right? Herschel is a local, small company, startup, maybe not a startup anymore. Okay, so again, with any job posting, you'll see the background, right? The company is also trying to sell themselves. They're trying to give you a bit of insight in terms of their culture. If you want to learn more about them, they often will have a link to their own site, in their own portal. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit. So the senior accountant role, what about this role? Will be responsible for supporting a diverse range of duties relating to the accounting and finance activities, okay, including analysis, account reconciliation, and financial reporting. Okay, so this is actually an interesting sentence because as you guys are completing your academics, you focus a lot on financial reporting, but here they're saying we do financial reporting, but we also want you to dive into the analytical side of things, right? So, retrospective as well as forward thinking. Okay, so that's good to see. This position reports to the accounting manager and works closely with the other finance team. Okay, so they are separated and other departments. Herschel is going through an exciting growth. Okay, so again, whether this is exciting to you, do you want to work for a small, more startup phase with that particular culture, or do you want to work for a more mature and established company where you know what your day-to-day will be like, you like that consistency? Okay, then maybe this company isn't a company you would want to apply for. Or rather, this excites you, right? You enjoy that startup phase. You enjoy not knowing what the next day may be, and brainstorming and helping them grow, and possibly helping them with their processes as well, because it's probably not established or matured. Okay, so this is what I've taken from just those few sentences. Anyone, again, you can feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share anything or if you have any questions. Brad, I think you're still there. So again, feel free to pipe in if you have anything to share. Okay. Oh, okay, in the chat. What exactly is month-end working papers? All right, so I think you've jumped ahead to the day in the life. So let's go ahead and explore that. Okay, so I'm not sure where you saw that. Ah, right here. Okay, perfect. Let's go into that then next. Okay, so a day in the life. So as they're trying to share with you, they are a dynamic and entrepreneurial workplace. Okay, so whether that gets you into the panic zone, maybe this is not the best company for you, but if that's exciting for you, you have that entrepreneurial spirit, then, again, probably a good fit. Okay, so the day-to-day for the senior accountant, reviewing month-end working papers to ensure accuracy and completeness. So this is what Brad has, highlighted. So we'll take a look at that. Ensuring the accuracy of inventory balances to ensure completeness and valuation in accordance with our accounting policies. Examples include preparation of monthly accruals and reconciliation for landed costs. Wow, okay, in-transit inventory, performing impairment analysis and supporting inventory accounts. Okay, these two here, these are very typical for financial reporting roles, Brad, if you agree. So with this company, Herschel, they are clearly a merchandising company, right? They manufacture and sell inventory. Inventory is probably their most important asset, okay, in terms of expenses, maybe after salaries. Inventory is definitely very significant for this company. So you can see here, they want to pay very special attention to this very important asset. Okay, so here they're saying one of your main job functions, again, this is at the top, is to protect essentially the inventory asset, right? So monitoring the accuracy. Is it complete? Is it valued properly? Okay, so these are very key components to ensure that the financial statements being reported are appropriate, right? They're free of errors, or hopefully errors. Again, we can't, achieve complete protection from errors, but it's not material misstated. Okay, this last sentence here is very interesting, because as you can appreciate with inventory, right, there are additional costs that will go into your inventory, right? It goes beyond the invoice price, as you've heard in your accounting courses. So in reality, right, we have inventory coming from all different directions. There are additional costs that go into this, right? Freight charges, possibly testing, right? So just being very careful to ensure that the reconciliation is done. And again, that the cost of the inventory is complete, accurate, and valued properly. Okay, so this is clearly very important to them. So probably at the end, as you master this role, you will be a master at inventory reconciliation. So if that's something that excites you, right, you'll gain a lot of experience there. Okay, so then back to Brad's comment, reviewing month-end working papers. So in a financial reporting role, you are likely then preparing, the month-end reports. Okay, so is it ultimately answering the question, is inventory accurate, complete, and value properly? What is the support that you're going to provide the accounting manager who can then complete their review and have comfort that, at least at the month end, it's correct, right? And of course, they're working towards their year-end engagement where you'll have, that year-end reconciliation. But likely with this kind of company, they are issuing monthly statements internally, possibly to external users. And so they have that, tight deadline every month, which again is common for financial reporting rules, where the last few days of the month are typically more stressful because you have some tight deadlines. Okay, Brad, anything to add on those first two? This is quite a loaded paragraph there. Okay, okay. What are working papers? You want to chime in there then, Brad? No, okay. So essentially working papers, as I mentioned, right, these are documents that you will prepare. Okay, so working papers may look different for different companies, but essentially whatever document and documentation you can prepare to substantiate, right, why you believe inventory is indeed accurate, complete, and valued properly, right? So working papers back in the day may have been a piece of paper, now typically is in a spreadsheet, right, and documented accordingly. Okay, different for each company. So the last few bullet points, and I know I'm already at 9:52, but here actually we're now jumping over to the analytical side of things, right? So monitoring the KPIs, the key performance indicators of the company. Clearly, they're very keen to monitor their gross margins and work with their FP&A group, so a separate department, their finance team, who are in charge of financial planning and analysis, and assisting them with whatever future decisions that the company may want to make. Okay, what else is happening here? So back to financial reporting, working closely with the AP team to reconcile key business partners' accounts. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you're now actually diving over to AP. Okay, so maintaining relationships and I guess respectfully ensuring payments are on time, right? And if you need extra time, leveraging from those relationships to get more time. Assist in retail reporting and accounting, assist in the interim, there we go. So working papers then for the year-end audit process, okay? Assisting in the development of accounting policy. So this, I'm not surprised this is there because this is a, startup, a company that is definitely in their growth stage. So it's nice that they acknowledge that they are still refining their accounting policies. So again, if this is something that's exciting to you, you want to be able to work and assist the company to refine and improve, then this is great. This is maybe a good fit. Rather, if you don't enjoy that and you want something that's already set in stone, here are the instructions, just execute it perfectly, then something like this would be a sign that maybe this is not the right fit for you. Process improvements. Okay, so very typical for startups. They are fully aware that they need to improve their processes and preparing internal and ad hoc reports. Okay, so here again, we have the requirements, and the takeaway from last session is please don't be put off or discouraged by these requirements. Okay, so this again is their wish list. And if you have, a few of these, you may be missing some, but you are confident that you can, make up in different ways, or you can learn, very quickly, then please don't be discouraged from applying from these kinds of positions. I think that's the takeaway from the last session. All right, so we have, only 5 minutes left, so I apologize. I wish I could speak more quickly, but let's just see if there are any questions that I can answer. Okay, so I thought I saw a question, but I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Sorry, I thought I saw a question, but I can't see it anymore. If you can type in the chat again, maybe. Or if you want to unmute your mic. Oh, okay, there we go. Does the experience matter in these roles? I think more experience is never a bad thing, okay? And so what you'll notice as you progress in your own careers is that it will get easier, right? Right now, a lot of you are at the very early stages. And so your rate of application to the success of job interviews and successful job offers will be discouraging, will be low, but you need to keep doing it, right? With more experience, the success rate of getting an interview and getting an offer substantially increases with additional experience. So to answer that question, yes, I do think experience matters. It does assist you. So for example, there are some that you will absolutely need. Okay, so a bachelor degree, I think, this you will need. So there's no way around that one. Professional designation. Okay, so it looks like this is important to them. Okay, so this is a role that maybe you need to wait until you get your CPA. But other ones, so let's go down the list, right? So for example, if you're not an expert at Excel, so you're not advanced, but you do have some basic knowledge, then I would hope that you don't discourage or you don't walk away from these kinds of roles purely from this one line, right? Okay, you may not be an expert or advanced, but you have some basic Excel knowledge. And of course, you can improve yourself on your own time as well, right? With some additional tutorials. Okay. Okay, another example for this one, right? You may not be an expert, say, at IFRS or US GAAP, but notice here they say an asset. Okay, so if you read this sentence, I hope you're not discouraged because you're thinking, oh, wow, I only have, knowledge in ASPE, or I only have knowledge in IFRS and I'm weak in the other ones. Okay, this is an example where hopefully you don't, discourage yourself from applying purely from one line. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, any other questions, away from just this particular sample? Any other thoughts? Okay. Oh, good. Another question. So most of these postings do not mention their salary. What is the average? Okay, that's a very good question. Actually, some companies do. I noticed with LinkedIn, a lot of companies are trying to be more transparent, or they're trying to show you that they pay above market, right? So they want to show you that, so they will publish their salary. It's hard to say, to be honest. I don't know if I have the best. Brad, feel free to chime in here. The last couple of years have been very, very interesting because the general salary for certain roles have been static for the last, 5-10 years, or, increasing as a result of inflation. But I would say the last 2 years have really changed things. And a lot of you are actually in great positions because it is a candidate's market right now. Lots of employers are looking for talent. And so I do think maybe 10-15% more than the average, 2-3 years ago, maybe for a senior accountant role like this. Again, you have to take into account the company. Okay, so the role is one thing. But it's also the company and the size of the company and the industry as well. Okay, so this one here, we're talking about senior accountant roles. So this would have to have, you have your designation already, as they mentioned. Okay, you have a degree, you have your designation. So this would assume you have at least a few years of experience. Don't quote me on this one, but I would say at least 60. Okay. That would be my guess. Maybe even higher now with the changes recently. Okay, so Brad is saying 18 per hour. I would say that is for a junior role. Okay, another question. Can we apply for these roles with post-bac program and a few years of experience? I would try, again, don't be discouraged. Give it a go, right? Give it a go. If you have a strong cover letter, even better if you have a connection. And that's another theme that we've been talking about. Academics are one thing, but as you see, the world is opening up. There are more networking events. There are more, just in-person events that really you should look towards, because this is your opportunity to meet not only company representatives, but maybe colleagues that will in the future be a strong network for you. Okay, so as you progress in your career, there is a huge asset, there's a huge benefit to growing your network, because hey, maybe someone actually can introduce you to someone in this company and give you that extra step in. Okay, so please, please, please don't underestimate the power of your network and building those connections and building those relationships. So I would say I would still apply. And if you have no, connection to this particular company, um, I think it would be more challenging. But hey, it depends on who has applied. Maybe no one has applied, and your experience still stands out, and they may be able to look, away from that. You may pledge that you are working towards your CPA. You will get it in 2-3 years. Okay, and that may be something that they may consider. Now, with this particular role, it is a senior accountant role. So I think if you don't have any experience to support a junior or intermediate accounting experience, it will be extremely challenging to even get an interview. Okay, so you do have to be reasonable. I don't think you can, jump that far in advance. You may want to look more towards junior and intermediate accounting roles. And then after some experience there, consider your senior accountant roles. Very challenging to go purely from, post-secondary or say post-bac program to a senior accountant role, unless you have those junior or intermediate accounting experience. Okay, and then Brad is also including Canadian experience is highly valued, right? They do want Canadian local experience because again, it's just different experience, different culture, and possibly different types of work as well. Okay, please continue with your question. It's 10:02, so again, if you have to log off, feel free to log off. But I am happy to stick around a little bit longer to answer any other questions you may have. Again, I'm monitoring the chat. So yes, Brad is emphasizing Canadian experience, different rules. Okay. Otherwise, have a lovely Wednesday morning. Okay. And thank you guys again for joining. And hopefully this was helpful. Again, please do reach out if you have any follow-up questions. Again, this is just the starting point, right? To think about different considerations. Okay. I know you're all working hard in class, but different thoughts for the next step. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.